I am your host, ultra runner and coach, Tania here. And today we have here helping me alongside my life crew, partner in crime, bestie.
That's the worst intro for me ever.
Andrew Jack. Welcome. Yay.
Hey.
I just wanted to start with my best apology because we are a very odd couple. So, and if
Why are you being apologetic for that?
Because of my accent, people are gonna be like, "Why am I listening to this?" I'm a Mexican millennial, born and raised in Mexico, and he is a Generation X Glaswegian. Do you see how I did the generation thing? So I didn't have to put you in the spot. How old are you? Well, let's just say there is a interesting age gap here. But yeah, it's been a really fun journey to get here and be here with you.
We've been together now 8 years.
8 years, yeah.
8 years.
Just in case you didn't know.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah. And the reason for the podcast, why we decided to do it now, is not going to be about a relationship. Well, maybe I will jump in a little bit
At some
in
point.
and out. I don't know, but the reason why I'm doing the podcast now, it's a running podcast. It will be, I know there is plenty of running podcasts out there, but the idea is it's not going to be all about running and all about training and time splits. And because I know I've heard a couple of podcasts out, and even though that is really interesting to hear, I feel like that is so not my vibe. Expect this podcast to be honest, 100%. Truly relatable conversations from the middle of the pack runner, really, or back of the pack, more likely to say. I'm a really slow runner, and I'm not a professional athlete. I don't have the motivation to go and train for a paycheck or a sponsorship. It's just purely maybe just love for the challenge and just getting out there.
Well, you say you're not a professional athlete, but I mean, like
I don't get paid.
How many have you done now? You've done
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I get paid to, I don't train to get paid.
I would call you a professional
brand.
athlete. I don't think it's necessarily just about getting paid. You've had sponsors and all that.
I got sponsors,
I think,
sometimes.
I mean, I think it's about what you do that makes you a professional.
But we'll hear about the struggles of chasing cutoffs. Like I said, I'm not a fast runner, and he will have some stories about that as well later on. But chasing cutoffs, all the struggles that we go as middle of the pack, back of the pack runners. The front of the packers, they finish, let's say, a race, a 50K in 4 or 5 hours, and we are finishing in 7-9 hours. So that is a good 3-4 hours more of fun.
Yeah.
That's where everything, all the stories, the cool stories are made, So so my race would look absolutely different from that people in the front of the pack.
Yeah, because you're not chasing
different.
a number one sport or whatever.
No, and then like I say, they are running and training to win and to make it. And my objective for most of the races is just survive and have fun.
Get through it.
Just survive
Get to the next checkpoint.
And have fun. So that's what it's about. That's why the podcast is called Ultra Happy, because that's just to do the things that makes us truly happy and ultra happy. And I think we've created that, and I'm very, very proud to say that we have created that life. And then obviously that's just what I do. And I am loving the process of our life process and my training process, and as a coach, as an athlete, as anything that you want to call it. And I like to say it's not only about training, because I think it goes beyond training, this life, it also involves the life balance. I know this wouldn't be possible if you weren't there, for example, to support me. Obviously, when I moved here, I changed careers. I've not been a coach all my life. I changed careers when I moved here to Scotland 5 years ago.
And actually, the personal trainer thing wasn't even on the cards at all.
It wasn't even in the cards.
It was actually because, remember, you just got your visa and you couldn't work, and you were bored and you thought, I'm going to study for something.
What do I love to do? Well, I love
Because you were
train.
training, yeah, and that's how it came
So
about.
exactly all that all that journey that has put us into this super cool spot, and then so that's why it's going to be a little bit about the podcast, things that make our life ultra happy.
Yeah. And we're also very different because while Tanya is this ultra runner and does these stage races, which she's just done 100-miler recently and things like that, I don't run. I don't run. In fact, I've recently started running, but I go to the gym 5 days a week and do all these things. So,
would you say it motivated you to get out and run, or would you have done it with or without me?
I would have done it without you, because remember I used to go with my dad when I was younger. I mean, I started going to the gym with my dad, who was like a bodybuilder, when I was like 11 years old. When I fell away for it for a long time, and then I went back. So I think I would have continued it. To the element of being there almost every day, probably not. But then I think that, funnily enough, Tanya will say to me, "Oh, do you want me to give you some training sessions?" What do I say?
No.
Absolutely not. Because her training sessions are mental. And while I like to go and work out and keep physically fit, and like I say, I've started taking up running, it's a different world.
But that is why I wanted to invite him, because he can bring, that sometimes I take things that are normal for me, and I know he's like, well, that is, not that it's not normal, but it's like not what regular, like other people do.
Here's a good example,
it's
right?
Super fun.
So Tanya will say to me, "Do you want to go for a walk on Sunday?" And I'll be like, "Right."
You know me,
and
what kind of walk?
I'll be like, "Right, okay." And in my head, I'm thinking, right, we'll go for a wee walk around the park with the dog and all. But no, Tanya is wanting to do 9 hours climbing up Ben Nevis as quick as she can.
So
and I'm like, no. So see, it's funny. So even now, I've got like this thing where she says, "Do you want to do something?" Or she comes back from a run and says, "I was thinking," and that panics me, because when she comes back and she says, "I was thinking," it means that she's either signing up for some other mental race, or I'm going to have to paint the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
So you get too much time as you're thinking, but I mean, we are very different, aren't we? It's like
my idea of fun is different than your idea of fun. So yeah, let's just end it up there.
True.
So exactly, that's why you were here, to kind of bring that, things that maybe I think they are a little bit normal, then maybe are not. So that was the reason why we wanted to do the podcast, one of the reasons. And I thought it was the perfect timing now, because I am about to embark in a super crazy, and speaking about crazy, crazy journey next year. And I thought it would be really cool to document everything that goes behind closed doors. Obviously, it's not only the running adventure that I'm going to go into, but as I get closer to the date and the race, I realize how many other moving parts are involved in this specific challenge that we're about to embark. So the challenge is, ready for this? I don't remember when I told you about this. But I think I had to make a presentation of okay, this is what we're going to do. He's like,
it started off with, "I'm going to do a stage race in Jordan and see what it's like."
Yeah.
And we went to Jordan, didn't we? And you done it, and actually you said to me, "I'm not sure about that." I'm not sure.
I will tell you why.
I'm not sure about that.
I'll tell you why. I was like, yes, I love that, but then I was like, not so much. But I'm coming back to the thought of, I should do them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a reason, and I'm going to explain why.
This will be my first time.
Change my idea of that. So the challenge is, I'm going to explain first the challenge so everyone knows what we're talking about. Is the Grand Slam Plus from Racing the Planet. If you want to Google it, look for it whenever you have a spare time there, so you can have a better idea, but I will explain it. It consists in running 5 stage races within a year, so 12 months. Each one is 250 kilometers. It's 155 miles. Self-supported. Only the organizers give you water and a tent, and that's it. Everything is self-supported. So it's a stage race, which that means that I need to run that distance in 5 stages. This one in particular is 5 stages. So what day 1, you run 40 kilometers, again, with your full gear in your back, it's around 8 to 10 kilos for what I've been reading and investigating through the desert. This one, the first one, I missed that. That is desert races. So it's 5 desert races.
Yeah.
Don't know if I've mentioned that. Yeah, that makes it a little bit harder.
Aye,
That changed everything.
Yeah.
So not only that, but I need to go across 5 different deserts in the world. So that is actually what I love this ones because it involves a little bit traveling.
What's the distance one?
250k or 155 miles.
I was going to say for the people in the UK,
I know, I had to do
155 miles.
some-
I need to
some-
convert everything to miles.
I know, I changed that because I knew you were going to struggle with that. So what I didn't change is the stages. So it's 5 stages. So meaning day 1, you need to run 40 kilometers. Again, carrying your backpack through sand, through 35-degree,
It's your food and everything, isn't it?
everything. Day 2, same, 40 kilometers. Day 3, again, 40 kilometers. Day 4, again, 40 kilometers. Day 5, you have the long march, which is 80k. Like you're already, and then you need to do like a double day in one go, and then you finish off with 10k. So you run 4 days, 40 kilometers. The 5th day, they hit you with a double session, let's call it that. And they call it long march because it's pretty much a march at that point.
Yeah.
And day 5, you just close with a quick 10k, right? So that is what is it about? So I need to do that 5 times through the year, and it's considered to be one of the most difficult endurance challenges in the world. Only 18 individuals have done it so far. I am looking to be the second youngest in doing it and the first Mexican, to complete it. So the first desert that I'm going to be fighting against is Namibia. That's the next one in April. So I have, I think, 16 weeks from now. The second one, it's in June in Gobi, the Gobi Desert in China. The third one is Jordan. So I'm going back to Jordan. I've done one in Jordan before, then September. Oh, listen to this one. This one, I'm so excited for this one. Antarctica, November. I mean, running with the penguins, man. Like
I don't even have words for that.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Someone says that, someone broke my heart saying that they smell really bad. So
The penguins?
yeah,
Or the runners?
probably both.
Both, yeah, probably both.
Yeah. And the last one is Atacama in Chile, the 30th of March. So my thoughts were not only sharing, obviously, how I'm going to prepare for the races, but also, like I said, share behind the scenes. Like I said, every time as I get closer, I find out that I don't know nothing about stage racing, and I finding myself seeking for experts. If I do something, if I don't know something, I am the person that would go and talk to someone about it or call someone or message someone. Now that we have Instagram and all that, it's a great outlet. Because even Auntie laughs at me that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you're messaging this person. I'm like, I don't care. She is the best in stage races. I'm going to message her. Like, I don't care if I look like a freaking stalker. I have some questions and I need some answers. And I'm going to just only ask to this, from these experts.
But it's been
They've
good.
done
It's been
it.
helpful for you.
It's been super helpful, and I've met wonderful people because of that along the way, which I am more than happy to share all that with you guys as well. So, and these ones, because it's the first time we do these ones together, it's going to be really fun because there is, like I said, a lot of things to be considered differently than a normal ultra race, which I've done more than 20. There's just only one stage, one day, and that's it. This one is traveling, logistics. These ones are all around the world, like I said. And there's places that I've never been. So travel logistics, they start in the middle of nowhere places. Like the first one in Namibia is in like this weird town. Like I need to drive 40 minutes or find someone to drive me 40 minutes when I land. I don't know. I will bring you all the details in the next podcast, but all those kind of things, that are you might not think about that are involved. And also the packing tricks. Obviously, it's going to be my first time packing that way.
Yeah,
like
for
I,
that sort of
it's my
race.
first time. So I've heard, read, we've watched podcasts of other people done it. So I think I have a couple of ideas. So I am very excited to get out there, put some in practice, and I will get back to you. And we're going to get ready together. So we'll be packing together. We'll say, okay, I watched these 3 options, and I think this one sounds the best option for me. I'm going to go with that. And then I'm sure there will be plenty of tweaks along the way. We have five of them to practice. So I think by the end of this, I am going to be like a master pro in
the first race will
packing
probably
thing.
be very different to the end race because the
Yes.
experience you'll gain from each one,
Yeah.
and each one will bring its own individual challenges. They'll all be completely different in some way, but you'll definitely finish a better athlete, a more understanding athlete of how that's like from the first to the last.
Yeah, and that's why it's one of the most difficult endurance challenge in the world. And it's not only because you need to run the distance, but you need to,
Well, by running.
well, yeah, let's say crawling the distance, but you need to also solve so many other things that is not only running, like carrying your backpack, or there's
your
more
food
things,
and
or how you're gonna fuel in the heat. That itself, it's a totally different ball game from any other race, let's say, that we've done.
Your intake of food and everything will be really interesting, and that'll be really different from, say, running Gobi to running Antarctic.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a different food.
Food,
completely
totally.
different.
Yeah, so we will talk about all this. We'll weave into all the conversations a little bit, our life, and we have a really interesting year ahead as a couple, as in as just a family, and we have a wee dog, so this is a family of 3. So we have a really, really fun, interesting life. So we'll weave all into the chats as well, and so hopefully you enjoy it. I would like to start this first podcast not digging in right away into the first desert, which is Namibia. But I wanted to introduce a little bit about, let's answer your question, like why I went back to the stage races. Because as you said.
Yeah, because I remember when we were in Jordan and you finished it, and I was saying to you, right, so how did you feel about it? And you were like, I don't know. I felt it was a bit, because you'd just done 100-miler like a couple of months beforehand. I think
3 weeks before.
Oh, 3 weeks, sorry. 3 weeks. I think it was in your head that that was really, really tough to do. So you were expecting the stage races to be tough running through the desert because of the challenges that brings. But I think you've done it quite easily. You didn't feel too bad doing it. And I think the fact of getting a sleep each night got you ready for the next day, which was quite good.
That's a game changer.
But you came back afterwards kind of, I felt like a bit downhearted about it. Like you didn't feel like it was your thing.
Enough.
You know what I mean? Challenged enough. So that's why when you said to me, I want to do the 5 deserts, I was kind of like,
I thought you didn't like it.
Why are you going that way?
Totally. So last year, correctly, we finished our first 100-miler after I chased it 5 years. I've been just chasing and chasing the distance.
Heartbreak.
Every time was a freaking heartbreak. But you know what? We kept at it, kept working, chipping away. And finally last year, we were able to finish that 100-miler. And I really, really, really love the non-stop distances, because we'll leave it for another podcast. But I really love that challenge of that one go. It's a different ball game altogether. And I said when I finished the first 100-miler, I thought, I love the long distances. Like, this is it. I had already signed up for Ultra X, which is the stage race that I did in Jordan. Yeah. So I already had that one in the books. That 100-miler was supposed to be at the start of the year, which it was the Jurassic Coast, but it was another failed attempt. Yeah. So that was
different. No, that was heat. That was a hot.
That was a heat exhaustion. I was just not prepared for that.
Remind me, how many ultras have you done, and how many did it take you to get to the 100?
So I've done 20 plus ultra distances, from 50Ks to 100Ks over, and 3 DNFs of the 100-miler, which I've always died in the 120, which is the 70-miler. For some reason, always the 3 attempts there. So my good attempt was at the beginning of the year, and then my second race was going to be the stage race in Jordan. But because I DNF'd the Jurassic Coast, that was my shot at the 100 miler last year, I thought, but it was so unfair because it was just a different reason why I DNF'd that time. It was heat exhaustion. I was not prepared. I just thought it was not a fair shot for me.
I mean,
so I kept looking for
even
another.
I was saying to you beforehand, because I'd seen the training and all the work you put in, this is the one, this is you're going
I know,
to do it.
you were so excited. You're like, that's it.
You're going to complete
that's
it. In fact, we will leave it for another podcast, but we've got a really funny story about that, about your mum when she came over from Mexico.
So funny.
And we were going looking for you.
Yeah. We have plenty of stories, guys. But all right, we'll write it down for the next one. That is a funny one. But yeah, so I finished that 100 miler. So I didn't think that was a fair shot for me. It didn't reflect the training I had put in.
I would agree.
So really quickly, I looked for another one. I was like, I know I can do it. Like, I know it was just... So I kept looking, and I found another one later on the year. Sadly, it was 3 weeks before the stage race I already signed up for. But I thought, you know what? I am blinded for that 100 mile. Like, I don't care. If that means that I'm going to miss Jordan, so be it. Like, I don't care. I'm just going for the 100 miler. So I signed up, and yeah, we'll put that story as well in the notes to do. That 100 miler, it has a whole, that can be a whole entire episode. It was so much fun.
I think that killed me more than you, that one.
I love that. Oh my God. So much fun, that 100 miler. And I really love that distance. I realized that I really love the long distance stuff. And I started looking into the 200s.
Another thing I don't even have words for.
No. Yeah. 200. The 200 milers, right? So yes, there are people out there that are running 200 plus miles in one go. So I thought, that's interesting. So I did some research, from what I have experienced in different races and all that. But I thought, you know what? I'm not ready 100% to go dive all into that 200. Even after I did Jordan, everything went fine, like you said. Yeah. I found it quite easy, considering as well that I've done the 100 miler 3 weeks before. And it was in extreme conditions, heat, running in sand. In this one, you didn't have to carry all your stuff. They carry it for you stage by stage. And it was really, really fun race, but I didn't feel that challenged. So when I thought I wanted to do it just to see as well what if I like them? What if I like the stage racing? What if I am actually liking better than one stage running? Yeah. That's the reason why I did it at the beginning. But then, like you said, I didn't feel that high or that challenged, or, I thought, I think I'm going to go back to the one stage thing. And that's when I started thinking, well, you know what? 100 miler is going to still be quite hard, but I thought I just want to go a little bit further. So I started looking at the 200s. But then, like I said, I started realizing that I think I need a little bit more work. And I noticed this in the in the Jordan race. I am really bad at walking. I thought this was a running podcast. Exactly. Yeah. I'm very, very slow. I know you're going to laugh because I am a really slow runner.
I was going to say you're a very slow runner.
I'm even a slower walker.
But to you, it's a mental challenge. Do you know what I mean? That's why you're talking about the middle of the pack thing and all that as well.
But I just realized if I want to do a 200, I just need to polish certain things that I know to give me better shots to finish the 200. So I thought, the stage races, the one that I just did, is an excellent practice because we do walk a lot. And not because you only have to walk because it's sand and it's just energy sapping. It's just better to walk it than run it, to be honest. It just makes more sense. It is a really good trekking experience. And carrying your stuff, being self-sufficient, adding that extra weight in your backpack, which is the 200s. You don't have to carry the 10K, the 10 kilos in your backpack, but because of the 8 stations being so further apart, you do have to carry a fair bit in your back. So I thought, you know what, the stage racing, it would be really good training to get me into shape for the 200. And so I started looking for other stage races, as in fun, as in traveling, and use them for a really good training block year for what can come next for that. And then I looked and then I found this Racing the Planet, and I seen they have a different couple options there, all of them. And then I even went into more like reading the website, and then said, oh, if you do the 5 in 1 year, you get to be in the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, you're like, sold.
And I was like,
sold.
that's it, done. What do I need to do? Let's do it. So that was it. That's the reason why I circled back to the stage races. Yeah. I don't want to say I feel confident, but I think I will be fine. Like I do believe in my abilities of conquering each one. The only difference that I'm excited to solve, it would be the different terrain of each one, how my body is going to react with the weather, which I know I love the heat. I'm really good at the heat. So not really good, but I know I don't have complications with the heat.
But you definitely leave, when you come to the planning these things, you leave no stone unturned. I mean, I know I say to you that you're obsessed with it for a while, but I think there's definitely a very fine line between obsessed and ultra focused. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you do deep dives into things. So all we've heard of, we've been watching documentaries, we've been doing everything. Do you know what I mean?
You're like, oh no, another running documentary.
I know, but I, to be fair, actually, I quite enjoy them.
Yeah,
now,
you
but
enjoy them.
I like this. I like watching the challenge and overcoming those challenges. But I think that you are becoming more and more ultra focused on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a pivot from being, I don't know about the stage races, to doing that. But actually, we hadn't discussed that.
But I would say,
that's
anyone is interested in doing a challenge, and you're not like, even I told you that I think I'm 100% sure you will be able to complete like the Jordan X that I did. Like, I'm 100% sure. There was people in that race that were just walking the entire thing. Yeah. Like, they didn't even run one bit. Yeah, they finished a little bit later, but there was no rush. Like, and then they had an awesome trip. You enjoy the sun, and you do push, obviously for people that are not used to doing these things. I would say some of them were saying, oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I love that. Like, they were putting themselves in a really, some people, I think there was one or two that have never run over a half marathon distance. Yeah. And they are there facing 3 or 4 marathons in different days, like continuously. Yeah. Like, that was mind blowing for me. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't, like, your body hasn't even felt a full marathon, and you're going to hit it with 4.
I think I'd be happy doing like a half marathon first before I start thinking about doing that and another marathon to Sablé. In fact, do you remember you said to me, do you know what? It would be really nice for the both of us for you to train, and we can do the marathon de Sablé next year. I said, all right, okay, so what's that? And she said, oh, well, there's one that's like a marathon that you can do, but because you're not a runner, you could do the half marathon. Yeah. And I thought, oh yeah, I could do a half marathon. I could train for that. And I said, so a couple of days went by, and I said, so this marathon de Sablé, what is it, just one day? How do we meet up? She said, no. You do a half marathon every day. And I was
it's
like,
a half marathon de Sablé, no, half marathon.
Every day. And I was like, no.
But that's what you used to do when you were working.
No, I know.
So I'm pretty sure you can do it. Yeah. Anyway, if you're interested in like maybe putting your feet into ultras, I would recommend highly to dig in or do a stage race. Plus, the traveling is super fun. Living in a tent and all that is super, super fun. This Ultra X is really great. I'm not paid by them. I'm not sponsored by them, but I really recommend it. They do take off the element of you don't have to carry your own thing. Yeah. So they take care of that. You do eat your own stuff that you brought, but your bags are carried stage by stage.
I actually think a big shout out to UltraX because it was super organised, and I think actually to a point for probably like yourself, it was maybe too organised because
it was super organised.
You would go there and you would get, if you had problems with your legs, you could get massaged at night.
Oh yeah,
you could get your feet looked after.
Therapists.
Yeah, there was therapists, there was medics, there was everything. So I think I think
when
for
in
anybody,
an ultra have I done? Have I had a therapy at the end of a run?
You'd be lucky if you get a Rice Krispies and Nutribar and the checkpoints, whereas you're getting massages and everything.
It was I think
I would definitely say, because from my side, sitting watching what was going on, because it was a stage race that we couldn't be involved in really. I felt comfort in the fact that I knew you were being looked after every night, and actually
that's true.
And actually also I think that one thing that you've got to say about UltraX is see the people that you met there. I mean, I know that we talk about the community quite a lot, the running community, about how amazing they are. They are amazing. I've met a lot of people, but I think the UltraX one was different.
It's because
as well.
you're leaving without people for like 5-7 days.
I mean, you don't make friends easy, no disrespect, but you've made you've made quite a lot of friends from that race.
That's
do you know
a
what I mean?
introduction for the first episode.
I know. But do you know what I mean? You've made a lot of friends.
It's just like you bond.
It's good,
you bond a lot. You have 7 days with these people, and it's just, and you share so many things. Like. Yeah, it's just
that experience. I think will stick with
really
you forever. You know.
So I would invite anyone to try. Not UltraX, but I know there is a couple other companies that do stage races. Plus, you get to travel, and that's fun as well. So. Yeah, I don't know why we spoke about so much about the stage racing, but that was the idea. And the second part that I wanted to touch on, base on, is a little bit of my background, because I feel like you're going to be like, how is this woman doing these things? Like, how long it took you to get there? Probably you've been running all your life. Are you an athlete? No. So I just wanted to.
The story goes, you don't even like running.
So I have to like take a little bit of time in this first episode to kind of like give a background of who I am,
where it came from,
where the love relationship started forming for ultra distances, and just a little bit of my background of my life. Like I said, I was born and raised in Mexico, and just making a little bit of reflection about my life. I guess you could say I've been always training since I was little, with I did have a gap in between when I was a teenager, but when I was really young, since 4 years old, I think that was my first race, I was in swimming. So I think my parents just signed me up for swimming, just like a normal, when you sign up your kid to go swimming,
get you out of the house.
just get you to burn energy and just go out. And I started running. I started swimming since I was 4. I think my first swim meet was, when I was 4 years old. I have a video and all, like the massive cameras. My mom was like obsessed with these massive cameras. So I do have videos of that. So I started swimming. It was just fun at the beginning. Really, I never thought anything of it, but I was I started getting quite good at it. I didn't think about anything of it, but it's just, I did that.
Do you think that that's where your competitive nature came from? Because, I mean, like, really, you will race the dog to finish breakfast. Do you know what I mean? It's like, everything's a competition. I mean, I'm...
You're always life is not a competition, Tania. It's always a competition.
I'm frightened to win at the bowling in case you cut me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're really competitive when it comes to that sort of thing.
Maybe that where my brain...
where it came from.
Maybe. Like I said, at the beginning, I never thought about, I'm competing. I was just having fun. I was 4 years old. I have no idea. But as I grew obviously older, and I started noticing like, hey, this is a competition. This is what you get. You start like growing into it. Yeah. That started like making more sense. But also because of that, I got burned out really fast, really quickly. I think when I was, let's say 12, 13-ish, I was just very tired of swimming. I was getting like pressured. Like you start feeling the pressure of, you need to, not of people, because my parents never say, you need to win, or never of that. It was just you, because you're like, I put all this time of training and I need to win. Like I put all this sacrifice. I need to win. It was just me all the time, just thinking. My parents never, or my coach. Well, he was tough, but he would never pressure me in that sense. But my head started pressuring me. So I think that.
But I think it's natural if you're in that kind of sport like that you where it's different from ultra running is for ultra running you want to finish and finish well. It's not about winning, whereas swimming, it's a competitive sport.
Yeah,
but
that
who's
one
the
is like,
fastest?
there is a first person, there is a second one.
And,
yeah.
I mean,
And then you don't get a medal if you are the fourth.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And in running, everyone gets a medal, so that's cool. That's one reason I love. Yeah. Probably, because I get the medal, even if I'm the last one. But in swimming, that was not the case. So, like I said, 12, 13, I said, you know what, I think I'm done. I was feeling very tired at that point. And I just said to myself, I did wanted to get to the nationals because I thought, at least if I put all these years and effort, I want to take something away from this whole journey. Yeah. So I really trained really hard 1 year to make it to the nationals. And I remember I failed at it and I was so angry because I thought, I really want to stop swimming. But now I have this goal in my head that I want to at least be in the nationals. I never said winning because I thought it would be like way more difficult. I said, I just want to be on it, like make the classification because you need to do a lot of races to classify and be in the race or in the swimming. So the first year I tried it, I didn't make it. So that was so hard for me, I remember. I was like, because at that point, I didn't even enjoy it anymore. It was just a point of, I want to make it to the nationals. So the second year, I tried out and everything, did all the series of races that you need to do to pass on to the nationals. I made it, finally. And I won the 800-meter race, which that was my race. So until then, since then, I guess I've been into endurance because in swimming competitions, 800 meter is a long course. It's called actually. So I was in the nationals for the long course, and my race was 800 meters. So I guess my slow twitches. It's been my genetics are just made for enduring. So I swam that race, won it, and that was the last time I swam. I was like literally finished that race, and I've never stepped a foot into a swimming pool again. But that built my character so much, I think, now that I kind of like I said, when you're living it in that moment, you never think about it that way until now that I'm like, where is this coming from? And then you have like time to reflect and look back, and you're like, maybe that's where my crazy head comes from.
I think definitely from a young age, because what happens is you're almost conditioned at a young age. If you're training regularly, it's in there somewhere. Yeah. And I know that you do talk about when you fell away from it for a wee bit and coming back to running, is that during all that time, it was probably still in you. And that it was missing, and that's why you came back to these sort of things, like whether
I knew I needed to.
There was something in there because you've been conditioned
something
from such a young age.
Yeah, what I learned also is that it could really burn you out. Yeah. Like I feel like I gave at that point I was 12, 13, like I said, and I feel like I gave all my life to it because I was that age. I have never went to the movies with my friends. I've never had a sleepover. And it's not, I didn't know I missed it because I never had it. Yeah. Like I was having fun with my friends from the team. Yeah. So I never felt sad or like, oh, this poor girl never had a childhood. Like my childhood was super happy. Like I was just swimming and having fun with them. But then when I stopped doing it and then I had more time in my hands and I had time to do things, I realized like, oh, look at all these fun things that you could do if you're not swimming. Yeah. So it was really fun to kind of like go in all in for hanging out, having friends, eating and all that. And so I got out of shape really quickly, of course, because I started living like the bad life or the good life. Well, I mean, it's just. I
think at 13 and 14, you're just being a kid. You know what I mean?
You're just being a kid.
And and then obviously with your school as well, because you went to a kind of. Which is bizarre, actually.
Very disciplined.
You went to a very disciplined school. In Mexico, Tania went to an English school.
Yeah.
She knows the words to God Save the Queen
Yeah.
better than I
We
do.
used to sing that song. Like that was our, like in the Flag Day, we will sing obviously the national anthem, the Mexican national anthem, and the British national anthem.
Yeah.
Just all my classes were in English.
Yeah.
Everything.
Teachers were
Science,
English and
geography,
stuff, weren't they?
history. My teachers were England.
Yeah.
England. They were English.
Yeah.
And the only class I had in Spanish was Spanish, and that was it. But yeah, everything else was. But they were very disciplined, like extremely
Yeah, you've
disciplined.
always had that, haven't you?
So that helped a lot. But still, like it was great to branch out and just kind of stop
And correct,
swimming.
and correct me if I'm wrong, right? After you finished school in Mexico, that's when you went to Canada, wasn't it, to study?
Yeah, exactly. So then after that, like I said, I finished swimming. I then suddenly moved to Canada just because I wanted. I think since I was little, also I got the traveling bug and living away. Even though I have a really lovely family and supportive, maybe because I have such a supportive family, I've never had the fear of doing something because I know they are behind me, and that's why probably I do a lot of things I do because I know whatever I decide to do, they are just back there, just backing me up. So I decided to go to Canada to study high school, and that was super fun. I didn't do any exercise or anything.
That was your rebellious years
Oh,
of
yeah,
going out
super
drinking
rebellious.
and partying and...
smoking. Like I was like 15
Hold on.
smoking.
Did you smoke?
I know.
I didn't know
I
that.
shouldn't say here like I was doing illegal stuff, but I remember I would come to Mexico, pack a lot of cigarettes, and I would
Right,
resell
wait a
them.
minute. Let's not go down this road.
I know. I'm gonna get like what's the name? Blocked from YouTube, like doing illegal stuff. I mean, I was so little. I don't know. I always had that hustle mind in my head. See, I was trying to resell packages of cigarettes in school because it was cheaper in Mexico, obviously. So when I used to go home and back, I would break them and resell them.
This is a side to you I did
think
not
you didn't know that. By the way,
But you-
I
so you-
always make a business of everything,
I know.
man. You should know this. There's
But you-
money on everything.
But you went to school in Canada,
Yeah.
which was the party years, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
No running there.
No running there.
And then after that, you went to Chicago, didn't you? Straight to Chicago, was it?
So I came back home. Yes, I came back home. I was such out of shape. At that point, you were 15, 16. I finished school years, and I was such a bad out of shape. I never suffered bullying like directly, but I was feeling bad with myself, mostly because I couldn't find clothes to fit me. In that time, there was no like really cool clothes for extra sizes like now. Like it was nothing. And I remember I couldn't find anything to fit me. And it was more of that uncomfortableness that always have to be, feeling squeezed. But I never was bullied like directly. So that put me into a really kind of like bad
precarious situation.
road into the nutrition side, because obviously I was not working out, and I was doing things here and there, but I couldn't find something that I really like. So I was still eating really bad. And even though my parents were like very supportive, my mom would take me to every single nutrition, because I was like, Mom, please take me to this
Help me
doctor.
somehow.
Yeah,
And
like Weight Watchers.
The information wasn't out there as
There
much
was
as it
no
is now.
internet or nothing. Yeah, so it
wasn't.
was really difficult to like Weight Watch. So I've done it all, man, since like Slim Fast, juicing, Weight Watchers, the wrap thing, everything. My mom used to take me to everything, just trying to support me. But yeah, that didn't work.
You seen a group of runners, didn't you?
So then I go to Chicago to study my uni, and that's where I find again myself in a different country, again trying to reinvent myself. I see a group of runners. I know the Chicago Marathon was on, and around the first couple of months I moved in, and I seen it. I've never seen a marathon before, and Chicago Marathon is a massive hype in the whole city. I lived right in the city center, so I could see the runners pass, and it was so much fun. Everyone looks having so much fun. The community, the people like cheering. So I thought, hey, I'm going to do it next year. That looks really fun. So I joined this group of runners. They used to get together 3 times a week. Two short runs or days during the week, and then one day during the weekend, like the long run, but that was it. Like there was no strengthening or nothing. It was just pure, just running with them. So I thought, yeah, how hard can that be?
Running around the park.
That
and
was
things
so
like
hard.
That.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, around the park. It's beautiful. Chicago is beautiful. But so obviously the marathon day came. It was the most painful thing I've done. Even now, I can remember that was one of the most painful things I ever done. I think I finished the marathon in like 7 hours. That's not even a joke. Like I had to crawl the last couple of kilometers. My parents again went to see my race, of course, and they walked a couple last 100 meters or kilometers with me. It was awful, and I was crying all the time because there was so much pain. It was like not fun, not enjoyable. And I decided to never do it again.
And that was you.
That was me forever. So I stopped running altogether that's it. Until I went back to Mexico.
How long was that between the time of the marathon going
Probably
back to Mexico?
I studied my master's in Chicago. That took me 5 years. So let's say I did it in the second year. So like 3 years, I didn't do anything. I was like, that's not for me. Running is not for me. So I went back to Mexico to study my master's. No, I was studying my master's in Chicago, sorry. And when I went back home, because I finished my master's, so I was like, okay, finish school, going back home. And again, I find myself again alone. I've been living abroad for like 5 years at that point. I didn't know anyone. And again, I see a group of runners running around the block.
Yeah.
You see the theme here. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to join them. I don't know anyone. It will be a way to kind of like know people again. I know I don't like running, but if I have to do that to just get out there, I'll do it. So I started doing that. It was like a loop of like 3 or 5K. And I couldn't even finish one loop. That was just so sad. It was just horrible. And I think it's something so humbling into getting yourself out there. And even now, when I see someone that joins a group run or whatever, and they struggle and they go all the way to the back, and I remember those days.
Being one of them.
Oh, absolutely. It's so heartbreaking.
To be fair, those guys in Mexico, because obviously that's when I came into the picture and met them. I mean, I loved them because we used to go for wings on a Friday with them. You know what I mean? Hot wings. That was my favorite. But it was a nice social group as well.
As a social group, it was good. But I was not having like the fun really and the running thing.
And then
it's just humbling to be in that position of trying to be better, and you just can't breathe. You feel like you're like out of breath all the time. Everything hurts. But
there must have been a turning point, because when you were with them, that's when you met Sabaj, when you met Tosco and Eda.
So maybe it was great for community, and then because of that situation that we were like going out for wings, I don't know how it came out that they introduced me to this trainer, and I loved his point of view and how he was training. He is, funny enough, he's not a running coach. He is actually a strength coach. So he's one of the strongest men in Mexico, funny enough. So he has nothing to do with running. But I love how he was training. He did like a demo class for us, and I really loved it. And I decided to start training with him at that point. And I think that was the moment that everything changed.
Everything changed, yeah.
Everything.
Definitely.
So that shows you the importance of a coach. Now that I, if you think about it, when my life turned, it was not when I was trying to do everything on my own or like signing up with running groups here and there. It was when I met him, or when I met him as a coach, when he was able to say, okay, to do a proper personal plan for me, okay, I see you're very out of shape, let's do this, let's do that. And because the plan was so personalized, he was so good at what he was doing, it worked. And I didn't have to do any more of the crazy diets. I just had a normal, simple diet. I wasn't hungry. So I was able to perform better, feel stronger. And 6 months after that, I signed up for my first 50K.
I think the interesting thing about Sabaj in Mexico.
That was the name of the group.
You should maybe have a look at these guys if you get the
amazing
opportunity to. They're dead easy to find on YouTube and on the web. But what Eda and Tosco, who are the head coaches there, brought to it. They brought a bit of realism to it, but as well as that, they brought elements of scientific. I think Tosco's got a PhD or something.
Yeah,
isn't
he's
got a PhD.
He's written a couple of books as well. So
and he brought the science to it, and I think that was a different thing for you because you were interested in learning about why strength was just as important for running.
And even when I moved here, at that point, it was time for me to move here. We met. We'll leave that story for another episode as well. We met. I decided to move over here. I was training with them already. And even when I was here, I was trying to look for friends to run around. And that's how that has been the pattern, right? Like I moved cities and I find running groups and kind of join them just for community. And then when I moved here, I found a couple of running groups and I felt, I don't want to say names or anything. I felt so attacked sometimes because they were saying, "Oh, you're not running enough. Oh, remember that." And that put really a lot. I wasn't a coach at that time either, so they put a lot of questions in my head. These
about
people
not doing the miles.
Yeah, you're not putting the miles. How you're going to do? Because I signed up for another ultra at that point. I had races to schedule, and these people were coming at me saying, "You're not doing your miles enough. You're not doing." But which I turned around with my coach and I say, "Hey, do you think I should be running more? Do you think all that?" And he was like, "No." Like he explained everything so good, which I can probably This will be an episode about training, which I'm going to do in the future. It's planned. I want to explain what was so different because consider this was 5 years ago. And this chat now is very trendy. But 5 years ago, the ultra running community and running was all about the miles. Like you need to do crazy miles. And right now it's getting trendy. Yeah. But he knew 5 years ago that was not the way to train. The way to go. So thank God for him.
Do you know something else?
I had such a strong foundation that 8 years into running and training consistently, I have not had one injury. No injuries. And despite all the crazy stuff I've done.
I think in reflection, looking at it from my side, I think that one of the things that Eda and Tosco did for you is they gave you confidence. They gave you a belief that you could actually do these things. And I remember saying sometimes, God, you need to give those guys a break because you were every other day you were on the phone asking them another question or messaging them. But I think what they done is they gave you confidence to believe in yourself, and I think that's done you really good stead in doing future ultra marathons and things, because you always reflect on that and reflect on the information you've been given by them, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes consciously,
and I think that's where it kind of grew I want to learn, because this is so interesting. It was much more than just training and running. I thought, because they were explaining the science behind it, and I thought, I want to know more about it. So they're not only push me in the sense of training and knowledge in that sense, but also open the eyes of like, hey, there is like this really fun science behind it. So that's where I started. When I moved here again, I decided to study to be a coach, and that's when I turned to be a coach and studied for it to be a PT and a running coach and all that. So it was super, super fun to and like you said, they supported me. Like every time I used to go with him and say, hey, do you think we should do this? Do you think I can do 100K? What do you think? He will always reply, sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Yeah. And I still, until now, say that all the time. When I'm going to sign up for something, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. So, that was a long story short-ish.
Yeah, but I think that actually leading up to doing the desert races that you're going to do, I think it's important that people understand the background and where you come from, because to do these things, and you and I would both agree, and anybody that I've spoken to in the ultra running community, they all say it's at least 60% mindset. It's at least 60% believing in yourself that you can get through it, because your legs will carry you and they'll walk you for the most part. But what happens is you'll get to a point and you think to yourself, why am I doing this? So the belief in yourself and the understanding and the history that you've had takes you.
And I think more so like married with that is the sense of attacking everything with curiosity. Like, what if I can do that? Do you think I
Yeah.
can do it? Like, I've never felt pressure. It was more like a curiosity. And I think when you attack life with curiosity, life becomes a never-ending adventure.
Yeah.
And I feel that's how I feel more like a life adventurer rather than a runner. When people say, oh, you're a runner, I really struggle with that because I don't feel myself. I don't find myself as a runner. I don't identify. That
But
word
you-
is so
but-
trendy. I don't identify myself as a runner because I feel the feats that I've done on foot have to do more with my capacity, my mental capacity, rather than my physical capacity.
Yeah.
And that's why I identify myself as like more of like adventure seeker or like adventure,
But But you also, whenever you're choosing your races and whatever it is that you're planning to run, you always, for me, try and put, it's almost like it should be just out of your reach.
Yeah.
So it's like you never know when you sign up, when you pay the money,
well,
whether you're
you
going
know
to
what- you
finish
know
or
my
not.
thinking
There's
on this.
There's nothing. I mean, you always think to yourself, "Will I make it? Will I be able to do it?"
Yeah.
You can go into the race confident, but for me, there's always been the ones, especially the ones where there's been elevation in the past, quite a bit. You've always said, "I don't know if I'll actually make."
Well, you
this."
know my idea of how do I sign up? How do I choose my races now? Like, I only sign up or choose a race or put my money where I don't know if I'm going to finish. Like, for me, if I know if I'm going to finish,
It's not a challenge.
it's not really a challenge. It's not appealing for me. So I put my money where I don't know if I'm going to finish or not, whatever that means in that time, right? Because maybe at the beginning I put my money in a marathon because I didn't know if I can do a marathon. Now it's, that kind of started growing, increasing as it goes. But I put my money where I don't know if I'm going to finish. And that shows in how do I go out of the house when I'm about to go for a run or a race or when I start a race. Like, the state of me is absolutely nerve-wracking. I'm always crying
but I
because
think-
I'm panicked. Like, I don't know truly if I'm going to be able to solve this.
But I think that that's coming to a different point now because your confidence is much better, because I think the 100-miler was a milestone for you.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that the stage race in Jordan was a milestone for you. So being able to go into doing the 5
yeah, you
deserts,
can tap on it.
you've already
much more.
you've got
Yeah,
that.
you
So
have
I
things
think that that's going to get better and better and better and better.
Definitely. Excellent. Yeah. So hopefully you got a really good idea of who am I? What are we about? We left
podcast's
so
all
many
about.
things untalked on like in the paper. So we have a little bit of ideas of what I wanted to bring to you guys. And yeah, I had so many things left and I don't want to bore you too much in the first episode. So I'm just going to leave it there. There's so much more to come. And
You're going to have some special guests as well.
Yes,
in
I'm
future.
gonna
people that have
bring
done the races and understand.
some people that have run the races with us. I'm going to bring my current coach. I'll tell you about it a little bit as well. I changed coaches, not the ones that I'm talking about. I had a couple of different coaches. Now this one is the one that is helping me to get to the deserts. So we're going to bring her over as well. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really, really fun ride, hopefully. So, well, thank you so much for listening to us today. And next week, I don't know if I want to do it every week, just because I don't know if I can do my hair that often. Anyway, so yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have more training, how to train in the next podcast, how to start running, how to get your running, how to get better at running, how to plan your season. That's also another topic to come. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Keep moving and doing whatever makes you ultra happy.
Ultra happy.